Playing through Modern Warfare 3's campaign was a boring slog, which is strange because you can complete Modern Warfare 3 in about 4 hours or so. There's not a single mission that stands out to me from that game, as this is really fun, and instead I felt like I was doing a light retread of our beloved original Modern Warfare trilogy of old, except this time it was trying way too hard to be realistic and serious, while trying to make me care about the fate of the world and the characters. So what a pleasant surprise Black Ops 6 was for me then. I didn't know what to expect from this campaign, and I wasn't a huge fan of Black Ops Cold War either. But Black Ops 6, the campaign has gone back to the roots of what makes a COD game fun. A variety of different missions, and I really do mean a great variety. Fun and interesting characters, some of which return from previous games, and a plot that doesn't take itself too seriously. It's over the top, but it's not in an outlandish way. Instead, it feels reminiscent of the good times we had in the original Modern Warfare 2 and the first Black Ops game. If Modern Warfare 3 was the serious and slow, then Black Ops 6 is the fast and furious. So what is Black Ops 6 even about? Without spoiling it, the game is set in 1991 during the time of the Gulf War. Our good pals Woods and a few other operatives from the CIA such as Marshall and the character we play as Case have been suspended from the Central Intelligence Agency. The agents get a whiff of an organisation called Pantheon that has infiltrated the CIA and word of a new bioweapon called the Cradle. It's up to us to go on a globe-trotting adventure to find out who these Pantheon guys are and what the Cradle is and how to stop it. The major strength of Black Ops 6 is its missions variety, not just in the change of scenery but in the change of themes throughout the game. You do get your classic COD missions where you push through enemy lines, gun blazing, but there are a few missions here where your approach is more subtle, more espionage focused, which is fitting because we are a CIA agent after all. This really helps with the game's pacing, which is done well. Other than one occasion, I never got bored, and I'll speak about that in a moment, but you are hit with some excellent missions early on with some fun objectives. So what about these missions then? One mission I really enjoyed in particular was a gala themed mission. Bill Clinton is here doing a speech, but the reason we are here is to rescue Adler from a black site underneath the event. The level starts feeling like a mission out of James Bond's Nightfire, and you'll have a few options of how to gather intelligence you need. Whichever option you choose will always lead to the same end result, but it's nice that Treyarch is giving players options other than just which gun you want to use. I was worried these parts of the game might be tedious, or it might be too easy to get caught over and over, but Treyarch knows their audience is playing a first-person shooter, and none of these parts of the game are too difficult. The windows for succeeding and not getting caught are generous. I didn't fail these parts of the game once, and I played all the way through on Harden. After a sufficient amount of spy activities, it's time to do what we really came here to do, that being rescuing Adler. A small stealth section avoiding cops, and now we get to the action. But here we're given another option. Go in quiet or guns blazing. While that might seem like a pretty standard choice for a Call of Duty, and one that was offered to you a few times in Modern Warfare games, here it actually is fun to try and complete these sections with silenced weapons, throwing knives, and distractions. Again, it's not too difficult to play this way, and you will never feel forced to go one route or the other. In Modern Warfare, there was lots of bullet spongy enemies, and while there are a few in Black Ops 6, they are never present in stealth sections, meaning you can take down most enemies with a well-placed shot to the head, helmet or not. The mission ends with a grand, action-packed escape on rails, and typical Call of Duty, but you probably won't mind because it's simply fun and it is a great crescendo to end a great mission. In this mission, you've sampled several genres, that being a spy, being a stealthy assassin, and being an action hero. This is what I mean when I say the game has great pacing, because you are always doing something different. Now, I mentioned there was one mission I didn't really enjoy, and that is an open world mission set on the front line of the Gulf War. You'll meet up with your SAS friends and be told that you can't attack Saddam Hussein's palace until enemy air defences are neutralised. At the same time, you're handed about about 15 optional objectives to complete, things like rescuing a squad of US soldiers, gathering captured supplies, or wiping out an enemy encampment. You get given a jeep to get around the desert, and kill streaks that you can call in like a chopper gunner, which will help spice things up a bit. Unfortunately, despite being better than several boring open world missions in Modern Warfare, and that series just can't seem to keep Warzone out of every aspect of the game, in Black Ops 6 it only feels a little bit better, but honestly I think open world missions should just stay out of Call of Duty campaigns going forward. For the rest of Black Ops 6 you are always on the move to get things done, whereas here I felt like I was just sidestepping from what I actually want to be doing. You might be wondering how much the Gulf War has to do with the story. In truth, it's all just a backdrop for our rogue agents to investigate the deep, dark and intricate world of the CIA and spycraft. There will always be a reason why we go to these places, such as Saddam Hussein's palace, which I will not spoil for you, of course, but the story here is genuinely interesting and captivating. With the majority of the missions having great structure to weave the narrative together, I always wanted to know what would happen next. Who was behind Pantheon and this mysterious plot they have to destabilize the world, and why? Another great mission, you investigate a derelict CIA bioweapons research facility. It's here things get freaky, and it feels like a mission that would be straight at home within Resident Evil, and I mean that in the most positive way possible. Take this instance when you are searching for documents and you start to hear click click clack of some strange footsteps. In the room with you are several mannequins that have seemingly come to life and will attempt to grab you when you are not looking. In this mission there are 4 areas of the facility you must visit, and each one has a different horror waiting for you. I commend Treyarch for doing something different and succeeding with it in spades. There are many other fun and unique levels in this game. You'll get to drive a tank through an airport and launch an elaborate heist through a fancy casino where you'll have to play as every member of the team, save for Woods of course, who is at this point disabled and in a wheelchair. Between missions you'll rest up at your cozy Bulgarian safe house by a big lake. It's fairly spacious and you'll have the option to give yourself perks which can give you better survivability in future missions. However, you should be fine without them, as I only purchased a few perks in my entire playthrough. You can also talk to your fellow agents and ask them questions about missions and themselves, where they give you little tidbits of Black Ops lore. One thing that I really appreciate about the Black Ops storyline is that it's yet to be rebooted. We are still following the same story in the same universe that started all the way back in 2010, which allows Treyarch to create original stories while keeping our beloved characters from years ago. This is unlike Modern Warfare, which has been rebooted only to tell a similar story as the original trilogy, but in a way that is far less exciting. While you're at the safe house, there are several puzzles for you to complete if you wish. Like the spy and stealthy sections of the game, the puzzles are not tedious, and you shouldn't be here for longer than 20 minutes trying to solve all the puzzles in the house. You'll find similar puzzles throughout the missions as well, such as computer code cracking, syncing radio frequencies to get safe combinations, and some lockpicking. None of it is difficult and won't take you away from the main task at hand, but it's good that the game encourages you to engage with it in a way that is not just shooting. You don't have to complete them if you don't want to, but you will get small rewards which could help you in the next mission. Towards the end of the campaign, you learn some of the villains' reasons for creating such havoc in the first place, and this is quite a brutal moment in the story. I won't show you any footage here, but the writers clearly understood how powerful PTSD can be for a person and showed off one of the character's struggles in a brilliant way. Now unfortunately it does end on a bit of a cliffhanger, not entirely, but there are some story threads started here that are left unresolved, but I now find myself excited for the next installment of Call of Duty, something I haven't been able to say since I eagerly awaited the launch of the original Modern Warfare 2. For the main character you play as, that being William Case, he doesn't speak at all through the game, and instead the story is mostly told through your fellow agents, in particular Adler and Marshall. Adler was perhaps the best thing about Cold War, so I'm happy to see him back, and Marshall is actually quite a likeable character, and I wouldn't mind seeing more of him in the future. So on the whole then, the campaign for Black Ops 6 is very good. I went in with very low expectations, as I haven't been thrilled by the last several COD campaigns. Honestly, I'd say this is the best one since Black Ops 2. I did encounter a few technical issues whilst playing, in particular with the water physics in the game. It would phase in and out, but other than that and the one open world mission, I don't have many negative things to say about it. Perhaps the best thing though is that this is the cheapest COD game to ever release. For $20 you can play all of Black Ops 6 on Gamepass. Is it worth it for the campaign alone? Maybe, but you'd have to be an enthusiast of FPS campaigns, but you're of course getting multiplayer, and if that's not your thing, you're also getting an additional PvE experience, that being zombies. What about multiplayer then? Well, it is noticeably different from the multiplayer in Modern Warfare 3, as in Black Ops the player movement has been changed up quite a lot. It's a good thing that Black Ops does feel different to play than MW3. It helps differentiate the two series, however, whether it is better or not is completely subjective. In Black Ops 6 you can dolphin dive, sprint in any direction, and you'll automatically start leaning around corners without having to mount your weapon on a wall or cover. You can also lean and twist your player more more so than in Modern Warfare 3, and this is especially noticeable while prone. This has and already will make for some epic gameplay moments, not from myself as I'm pretty average at these games, but some talented players will be pulling off some insane moves with the new omnidirectional movement. The TTK does feel a bit longer in Black Ops 6 than it does in Modern Warfare, which could mean meta builds become more prominent here than in previous games. However, I found that recoil doesn't feel as heavy with guns here. It is not too difficult to keep your weapon on target, even without any attachments. But one attachment that is going to help you a lot is extended mags, purely because you can keep shooting for longer, where the first to reload in a gunfight is often the first to die. There's a decent number of weapons to choose from, and more will be added over time. Black Ops 6 being set in the 90s gives Treyarch the opportunity to add some more older and more modern weapons to the game. I will note, to those who are very enthusiastic about firearms, very few of the guns are using real gun names, and some look far removed from their real life counterparts like the MP5 in this game. Most guns are satisfying to play with, and most do feel different from each other. That is good because that means the sandbox doesn't feel like it's loaded with loads of weapon clones. However, one downside is the maps. Very few of them are impressive, and at launch I did notice there were issues with the spawns. I found myself spawning behind enemy players, allowing me to get cheap kills, but it was also happening to me in reverse, which did get quite frustrating. It made me not want to play the regular sized maps, and I just wanted to stick to the CQB maps. The majority of the maps are pretty cookie cutter, with none really standing out as major hits. Of course, Nuketown is here, which is always fun, but I hope Treyarch carefully craft future maps to have better gameplay and just a better rhythm for the matches. There is plenty to do though. You have many attachments to unlock for your guns and plenty of camo challenges to work through if you're a completionist. But for me personally, while I loved Black Ops 6 campaign, I find myself not enjoying the multiplayer as much. I prefer the tight, less twitchy feeling of Modern Warfare 3, but take that with a grain of salt because it is all just personal preference, and as the game is on Gamepass, I encourage you to check it out for yourself and see if you like it. The last thing we need to talk about is zombies, the round-based PvE mode that's been a staple of Treyarch COD games since World at War, and oh boy has it changed a lot since then. I'll be totally honest with you that I haven't played enough zombies in Black Ops 6 to tell you how good it really is. The reason for that is because when you jump in, it does seem quite confusing what you need to be doing. Gone are the days of starting off with a pistol and finding weapons as you go. Similar to Cold War, you can start off with the primary weapon of your choice. For me, this was the XM4 because I had the most attachments for this gun. You can also make yourself more powerful, leveling up different aspects like perks and bubblegum power-ups in the menu. There are two maps to choose from, the first being Liberty Falls, a town in West Virginia that is more out in the open, and the second map is Terminus, which seems a bit bigger but is more close quarters like the zombie maps of old. You'll probably like one more than the other, and for me it was Terminus purely because it gave me some nostalgic feelings. For someone like myself who loved the classic zombies experience from World at War and the first Black Ops, I don't really feel at home here. I'm a bit overwhelmed with the amount of objectives you need to complete and all the different ways you can level yourself up. The Pack-a-Punch machine is still here, but you also have to upgrade your weapon at certain vending machines, as well as your plate carrier, which can be upgraded at certain points around the map. You'll have to regularly upgrade your gear if you want a chance of getting to the higher rounds. Thematically, it is cool. You have your regular zombies, but also your special ones like giant armored zombies and parasites, which I assume are the new hellhounds. Perhaps if I was to play it more, I might find some more enjoyment from it, but there is a few things most players are going to have to do if they want to get the most out of this zombies experience. First of all, you need to be playing with your friends, or at the very least playing with people that have microphones. Otherwise, players are going to be getting confused on what they should be doing. When I played with randoms, most of the time we would just split up and do our own thing, rather than a focus on surviving as long as possible or trying to complete the story, which is told to you by other characters via radio communication. The second thing players would have to do is be willing to play zombies for several hours. This is not like the campaign or multiplayer where you can just hop in for a few missions or matches. Of course you can exfil, but the randoms you're playing with might want to keep going. Meanwhile, you have to come off because you have work or school in the morning. Because of this, it doesn't seem as casual as it used to be, and while I'm not saying I dislike it, because it was satisfying to shoot rows and rows of zombies with my upgraded guns, for a busy person like me, it's hard to get into. Maybe one day I will properly get online with my friends and we'll see how far we can get, and maybe even complete the Easter eggs. So there we have it, Black Ops 6 in a nutshell. A fantastic campaign with an original story and lots of fun mission variety. Fast-paced action multiplayer with lots of decent weapons and new movement abilities for the franchise, and zombies mode which could potentially keep you entertained for several hours at a time. So is the game worth the price tag? Well, that depends how much you're paying for it. If you already have Game Pass Ultimate, I would say go ahead and check it out. You're not spending any more money than you already was, and it's worth looking into for the campaign alone. If you don't have Game Pass, then $20 is not a bad price to pay, in particular if you like these sorts of games. But if you was paying $60 or $70, it's quite a big ask, and I would say only get it if you're really sure you're going to like all 3 game modes that are offered here. So if I was to score this game, I'd give it a strong 8 out of 10. Treyarch have raised the bar for Call of Duty here, and I hope they can reach it again and surpass it even further. If you enjoyed this video, do please leave a like and leave a comment with your thoughts below. This was my first game review for the channel, so if you have constructive feedback, I'd very much appreciate it, and if you do want to see more videos like this, then do consider subscribing. But until next time, I will see you in the next one.